I got invited down to Arizona for the MLB The Show 25 spring training event, where I got to play the game early, and I have lots of thoughts. I was able to play the full build of the game that will release in early access this Friday, and I got to play just about every mode in the game. But I want to give a big thank you to all of you guys that have watched the videos, tuned into the streams over the years. Your eyes and your support is what allows me to have opportunities like this. So sincerely, thank you guys so much. That being said, I want to emphasize that these are all my opinions. In fact, when SDS reached out to the group of us that went down to Arizona, they made clear they wanted us to be as open, transparent, and honest about our own experiences as we can, and I fully intend to do so. If something was great, I'll tell you, in my opinion, that I thought it was great. If something was a little underwhelming, I'll tell you that I thought it was underwhelming, and we'll paint the full picture of MLB The Show 25 from there. Leave a like down below on this video, subscribe to the channel, and let's get started. We'll begin with the foundation for everything the game is built on, and that is gameplay. This year, MLB The Show announced a couple new features on the gameplay front: ambush hitting, new infielder reaction times, the home run rob meter, and the new arm accuracy meter. Ambush hitting. A lot of people pretty confused when they first announced it, and I'll admit I was a little bit too. And then they showed off what exactly it would be, that it's supposed to replicate how an actual hitter would come up to bat. They have an approach, whether they're looking for a specific pitch or in a specific location. I think ambush hitting does a great job at representing that, because you can choose to either ambush inside or outside. And if you ambush inside, for example, and the pitch does go inside, you're going to have a bigger PCI to hit that ball with, meaning a better chance for you to get a base hit. Meanwhile, if it goes outside, if you guess wrong, your PCI shrinks considerably, making it very difficult for you to actually succeed. And SDS did give us this graphic to help us visualize just how big of a benefit guessing right would be and how big of a detriment guessing wrong would be, so you can really get a full picture. And I'll say, with my time using ambush hitting, I was a very big fan of it, but it is a situational thing. You're not always going to want to ambush. If you're in favorable counts, like an 0-0 count, there's no reason not to use ambush to guess if it's going to be an inside or outside pitch. If it's middle of the zone, your PCI just stays the same. It only impacts if it goes to, outside or inside and reflects where you ambushed. But if you guess wrong on an 0-0 count, so what? I mean, just don't swing, and it's an 0-1 count. It's not that big of a deal. If you have a favorable count, I think you got to ambush. 0-0, 1-0, 2-1, 3-1. The only time I really did not use ambush, if I was in a 2-strike count, if I was in even like an 0-1 count, a lot of times I wouldn't do it, just because it is a big penalty if you guess wrong. And I think this is going to be so cool online. We did get a little bit of a chance to play online against the other people that were there, and the devs describe it as much of a pitching feature as it is a hitting feature, and I agree. It really creates this cat and mouse game between the two different users. You can't just spam those inside sinkers anymore. You're going to be penalized, because if you ambush inside with someone spamming the same pitch over and over again, you're going to have that bigger PCI. You're going to have the increased timing window that's going to make it a lot easier to punish those pitches and those pitchers that would keep throwing the same thing repeatedly. So ambush hitting, I thought, was a great implementation, and I'm really excited for you guys to get your hands on it, to try it out as well. I don't think it will be for everybody, and especially for every situation, but I definitely think it changes how you go and actually hit within the game. Now, the infielder reactions is something that's going to frustrate some people, because if they are slowing down reactions for infielders, what does that mean? That means more choppers, more ground balls not hit particularly well getting through the infield for base hits. Those cheap base hits like we talk about that not everybody likes, that people get fairly annoyed by when it goes against them. Those happen more often in MLB The Show 25. They do. Now, it comes as a result of there being different reaction times for these infielders. You know, the best of the best, your 99 defensive rating or your 99 reaction rating Ozzie Smith, he's going to get the best jump possible to the ball every single time. Then a 90 rated defender is going to get the best jump about 88 to 90% of the time, they mentioned, and it just keeps going down. There's 3 tiers, the best possible, pretty good, and not great reaction, and it works really seamlessly. If you're a 60 rated defender, if you've got 60 reaction, you can still get the best possible reaction to the ball, but it is far more rare than someone like a 90 overall reaction defender to get that best jump. Most often, the 60 reaction rating defender is going to get the worst possible jump, and you notice that throughout playing the game. So I really think the new infielder reactions change how you play and construct your lineup, from everywhere to Diamond Dynasty to franchise, and even your Road to the Show character. You know, that's an attribute that you're going to want to pay attention to this year, and I really like that. The home run rob meter, there is more robbed home runs this year. I didn't have a ton of experience actually playing with this, but a couple of the guys had the practice mode up, and they were just trying to jump and rob home runs, and it's a little bit different. Once you get down really when you are supposed to hit the R1 button and jump up to make that play, I think you're going to realize that there are more home runs being robbed in MLB The Show 25, and that's big thanks to the new animations that they've put in. There's more than one this time, or I guess there was 2. There's the standing and then the running. So many times you would just have a high hit fly ball, you'd see the arrows that you've got a chance to rob it, and you run, just start to zigzag until you get to the wall to try and jump up, because you have to waste time to get it perfectly timed up to jump. Now, if you're there like a second early, you can still rob it. There's animations where you just sort of kind of hang at the wall for a second, which you do see in real baseball, and they'll make the play. Now, it is supposedly better defenders are going to have an easier time robbing these home runs than more poor defenders. I can't really speak to how often or just really how different that is, because we just used a diamond rated defender to rob home runs, and we were definitely able to do it with more consistent success than previously. So there will be more home runs being robbed by users in MLB 25. You can count on that. And then the arm accuracy meter. Gonna be honest, I didn't really notice this too much. Now, the big difference here is that the perfect notch is at the tail end of green. They want more people to make errors, and you really have to think, is it worth it to try and hit a perfect throw in this scenario when you really can't afford a red throw being an error, you know, an overthrow? And I definitely had that in mind while playing, but personally, as someone who had never played this before, I didn't have too much trouble. I think I had one red throw, which contributed to an error, but for the most part, I hit a good deal of perfect throws, and otherwise I was consistently able to get to green. So still pretty good. Not always good enough in every case, but it's not going past my catcher. It's not sailing into the seats for an error. So we'll have to see more experience with this, just how big of a change it will be, but it wasn't as drastic as I first thought when they were talking about it. And one more gameplay element that I wanted to touch base on. In MLB 24, a lot of people got frustrated with the PCI shrinking on breaking balls low and away from the batter. The devs did confirm this is not a bug, but in fact a feature. and this year it is expanded upon to make it more realistic. Also, I'm happy to say that certain minor league stadiums have had their elevations nerfed. Think Capitol Lange and Shield Woods. I don't remember the exact figures, but they are down by multiple thousand feet in elevation for MLB The Show 25. Road to the Show, as you guys know, is a mode that I've been pretty harsh on. I've critiqued fairly heavily. As someone who's played Road to the Show since it first came out in MLB The Show and has seen it year after year after year just not really go anywhere, to the point where I'd wonder, where exactly was the end goal? Where exactly was all the time going with innovation? Because there wasn't much happening within Road to the Show. I did like when they brought the Bowman Scout Day back last year. I think they improved on it, but for the most part, I just was very unimpressed by Road to the Show until this year. I've got to say, Road to the Show is the best thing that I played at this event, and I played it quite extensively. I played throughout the amateur years. High school and college are in the game this year. Those are two of the biggest new additions to MLB The Show 25, and I thought they were very fun. You'll have a couple Road to the Show videos coming up in your sub box well, one's coming today, the other's coming tomorrow, so keep on the lookout for that. Now, my biggest concern, my biggest worry here was the actual length of these amateur years, because I played 3 high school games and I played 3 or 4 college games. It's like 6 to 7 overall, which does not sound like a lot. You add in the Bowman Scout Day, it's about 10 games that you play before you actually get to pro ball, to AA, where you start off your career. And I do think my concerns were alleviated by actually playing it. It might have been because we were at this big event and there's a lot of other stuff to do. And it might be different if I was sitting at home right here in this chair on this monitor playing. It might feel quicker. But I thought it was a good amount of time spent on things supplementing your Road to the Show. Because all this stuff, besides the Bowman Scout Day, would not have been in previously. So I spent multiple hours playing to get to the point that we would have been at any other year. I thought it was a decent amount, and I definitely think it would be worthwhile playing again, because you can make another Road to the Show character and have another college experience if you choose. So I went through high school, of course. I thought that was pretty cool. It's unique. The fences are about 300 feet. I hit a couple 310-foot bombs, which was pretty fun. Fastballs were coming in like in the 80-mile-an-hour range. Obviously, these are high school players. Something I noticed that I mentioned to the devs, and they helped me confirm, was these high school players look like amateurs. They have different animation sets where they don't look like they're necessarily going to be playing past the high school level. I think it is really unique. You've got the announcers. It's not Boog Sciambi and Chris Singleton that are in the broadcast booth here. It feels more like it would be a high school game. I assume, again, my high school, I used the same jersey that somebody probably sweat in a decade previously. So we didn't have names on the back. We didn't have all this fancy schmancy stuff, but it was a cool experience. The metal bats were in there, and you play your high school games. You've got college recruiters from the different college teams coming up to you and expressing that they have interest in you playing at their school. And all the while, you've got the MLB draft looming, because you've got a choice to make if you want to play college or just go to pro ball as an 18-year-old. I will say, you have to go to college if you want that elusive #1 overall pick. You have to grind it out in collegiate ball first. I don't think it is possible, and I believe that was confirmed, that you cannot go #1 if you just get drafted from high school. You can go fairly high, but not #1 overall, so just keep that in mind. The bigger concern outside of the actual time spent in the amateur years, I still do think, is the number of teams. I get you're not going to have as many as NCAA football. Of course, it's a MLB game, not NCAA The Show. But 8 teams, and you don't really get that much unique things with that specific school. Like, you have their jersey, their logo, but you don't go to their ballparks, of course. You only play at the College World Series Stadium. So if they could enrich that college experience with those teams a little bit more, I get it's, doing that for just a couple games time, but it adds so much replayability to the mode. So I would really like to see that in the future. Maybe add a couple more teams too, so it's more than 8. But overall, that was 9. That's 8. I went to college, and then you just get a brick thrown at your head. You go in a coma for 3 years, essentially, and you wake up, you're a senior, and you have about 3-ish games to play on the road to the College World Series, which I thought they did a really good job at recreating that stadium at Omaha, Nebraska, of course, where the College World Series takes place. It is not officially licensed. You have no NCAA logos anywhere. It's not even called the College World Series, so that is a bit of a bummer. But you go through those games. At that point, Boog Sciambi and Chris Singleton are the ones in the broadcast booth, and instantly, you notice a big difference in talent. You don't, unfortunately, have any of the guys you'll play with in college actually get drafted with you. Like, there's this one guy who threw like 99 with a knuckleball. It's like, holy shit, he's going to go number 1, not me. But the devs said those guys don't really follow you anywhere else in your career. But college was a fun time, of course. It is a cool environment. It is a little bit different than playing your regular exhibition franchise anywhere else in the game. It is pretty cool and pretty unique. After you go throughout your college career, then you're done. You're going to get drafted, and you're going to start your road to the show just like any other year. My big concern after that point is I don't think there's much else story-wise that's going to happen with your player, but the progression system really enriches and deepens your road to the show experience. I mentioned before, I thought the integration with Diamond Dynasty killed whatever progression system, whatever attribute system that they had in the game was, and it made it so uninteresting. When you have those archetypes that you just mindlessly grind stats for to eventually only upgrade those specific ones, now everything is at your disposal. You are given the keys, and you get to choose exactly what gets upgraded, and you earn tokens at a pretty good rate. Those are the primary currency that you use to actually upgrade, and that is cool in my opinion. And also the perk system that they introduce here as well really makes it feel like that RPG that they always market Road to the Show as. I always criticize them for calling it an RPG when there's essentially no choices you got to make, but this year there is lots of choice. What college do you go to? The different schools, albeit only 8, have different incentives for you to play there. They might give you a better NIL package, which is an equipment package, which helps boost your player, of course. A little bit different this year, but still is going to be useful. Some of them are going to offer better exposure, like LSU, big name school, a lot of eyes. You got a better chance to go number 1 if you go to LSU than, a TCU, for example. But TCU might offer better perks for you to improve as a player for how you want to be. I think it's really cool. And then the perk system is really fun. It's like taking the Showtime or the Showdown perks that they've had in the past and just cranking them up to 11, offering so many different unique opportunities that boost your player in different ways. You really have to think about how you want these boosts to work. It is so cool. I didn't get a ton of chance to use the perks because you don't get many while you're in the amateur years, but I have to say, I am so excited to play through a Road to the Show on GOAT difficulty, where it is brutally tough and you really have to make the most out of your opportunities and have to think about how you want to progress as a player. Road to the Show is awesome. Like I said, best thing that I played, bar none. Let's talk franchise mode. It is one of the modes I didn't get as much time with, but I got to play really the only thing that changed, and that is the free agency. And I got to see some of the other guys play throughout their franchise sims and do their free agency period. I do think it's cool. You have more thoughtful interactions with these different players, different agents, and there's more involved within the free agency process in the past for sure, that you really have to think. Once again, your choices matter more than in the past, and contract values, they are better. I will say that for sure. Although there were still a couple instances. The game really does not like Vladimir Guerrero Jr. I saw him sign, I believe, to the Twins for 9 years, like $260 million. I don't think that would happen in real life, but I mean, for the most part, again, it is cool. You know, you have the big board of free agents. It works exactly like the scouting process does the past couple of years when they changed up scouting within franchise mode. It is precisely that same system. You have 3 slots and you prioritize who you want most on your team. I'm going to have to play more to really get a full grasp of everything, I think, especially in terms of, is the contract logic that much improved? Is the trade logic that much improved? I did see some good deals happening where players were signing like $400 million contracts. You know, good players that would get that in real life. I thought that was cool. And again, I talk about the logic within the game is really the foundation for franchise. Because if nothing makes sense, that's going to make you not want to play. Those are the frustrating things. How many times have you sat there playing franchise and saw, you know, the Juan Soto signing with the Marlins and you just get deflated? Or you see a biblically awful trade where it's just like, holy shit, why am I playing this? You know, it ruins immersion, and that really is what franchise is, right? Your own personal Major League Baseball universe. You want to uphold that. And I do think, again, the presentation elements that they did put into the game this year really improve things. I think that is really cool. But this is not some giant leap this year for franchise, in my opinion. It's an upgrade. If you're going to buy the game anyway, I think you'll appreciate it. But if you were going to consider buying the game just for franchise mode, don't expect leaps and bounds of innovation this year. I do feel optimistic for the next couple years, but this is not, reinventing the wheel here. Diamond Dynasty is something I can't really talk about too much yet outside of what has been publicly revealed. I can't mention specific rewards or legends if they haven't been put out there. I'll tell you this. In my opinion, this is the best Legend cast that we've had in a long time. If not, maybe ever in a new MLB The Show title. There's a lot of new names, kind of for like every team too. Every theme team is going to help get fleshed out this year. Very excited for the new Legends and for the opening day, launch night rewards as well. I am very optimistic about what I heard from the developers. They obviously acknowledge that the sets and seasons thing just did not work out. Again, I really do appreciate that they tried to change things up. I mentioned it's like an artist or a band that just keeps retreading. You know, they keep replaying the hits. They keep doing the same thing that they did in their first album on their 11th album. And they never try to innovate, right? I appreciate that the team at SDS was willing to try something else, and, it didn't work out after 2 years, and now they're like, okay, we admit fault. We're going to, try and go back to why you loved Diamond Dynasty in the first place. And I really do think that is what is happening here. So I'm excited about that. They have talked about team affinity. I will say TA, I think, is even better than it was in the past couple of years, where, it just really rewards you for playing with the cards that you want to, which I think is great. If you want to play with the Twins to get twin rewards, you can do that. and there's expansive paths to really give you those great rewards as well. This year, you've really got two types of team affinity. You have your My Journey program, which is going to be in the game at launch. And actually, if you play enough with one specific team, you can earn vouchers for cards that are going to come out later in different team affinity programs, which is really cool, although it does take lots of stat grinding to get there. But yeah, you don't have to worry about falling back too far on specific teams because there will be those new programs that come out alongside the power creep. You know, come All-Star time, you can grind out every team with their All-Star Team Affinity program. You don't have to get the voucher for all of them within My Journey. Weekend Classic, I want to talk about that briefly. We had asked for this for years, and it finally came. I think a lot of us were wondering if it would ever come into the game. But not only did they bring in the Weekend Classic, which is this big competitive mode, but it's not just that, because the Weekend Classic happens at the end of every ranked season, which is about 1 month in duration, and you're going to get that opportunity to play no matter what tier you're at. It's not just for the 1,000 rated players. Obviously, they have better rewards than somebody at 300 rating, but even for those people at 300, there's games to play that matter for good rewards. And that is awesome. I think they did a great job really considering how the Weekend Classic should work, and I'm very pleased with it. Diamond Quest, I thought was really fun. I did get an opportunity to play that. I know they showed it on the feature premiere. I think you guys are going to enjoy it. You probably saw a decent bit of it, and yeah, what they say is no two gameplay experiences are alike, I think is true. There's a lot of different twists and turns in Diamond Quest, and again, there's very cool rewards in there. So big fan of those two brand new modes within Diamond Dynasty. And one thing I also want to talk about, like an all-encompassing, is the GOAT difficulty. We did, I think most of us there at the event, that's the first thing we did, was we went on to play GOAT difficulty, and I will say, there was significant delay when we were playing on those TVs. Like, it was worse than your average TV, although they were very nice TVs. It was really difficult to hit. So that being said, we all had pretty rough experiences with GOAT difficulty. I'll tell you personally, I had a couple swings which were good timing. My PCI was like a little off or so. Just a little bit. Swing and miss. All-Star difficulty probably would have been a home run. And here, you're not even hitting the ball. So it is really going to be tough. Again, GOAT difficulty is probably not going to be something most people ever play, let alone have to play. If you're 1,000 rating, you get to GOAT difficulty. But it was brutally hard, but I like it. That's what it's there for. Otherwise, yeah, that is basically my experience playing MLB The Show 25, getting a chance to play it early, which was really cool, obviously. Very difficult to have, some of this knowledge about new legends and not being able to share it with you guys to keep lock and seal, but I'm very excited for you guys to see who they put into the game and just get your hands on it again, because I do think that this is a better game than last year. Top to bottom, I think Road to the Show is way better. I think Franchise, it certainly isn't worse. It is more engaging. Gameplay, I'm excited and interested. A lot of this stuff I really have to get more reps on. I play a lot more in a yearly basis than I did at that capture event, right? And I'm sure there's going to be a couple things that I change my mind on, and we'll have to wait and see for that, but I'm excited for the game. I think you guys should be excited for the game, and in my personal opinion, I definitely think that they are listening. That's something we talk about all the time. Do our suggestions, do our feedback fall on deaf ears? I don't think so. There's a lot of very passionate developers there, and this is not me saying this just because they had me there, but it's all the great conversations that I got to have with them. They're all really fun, down-to-earth people, and getting a chance. There's a couple that I had met previously, but getting to meet that team was a lot of fun, and they are far more open to feedback and different changes and opinions than you would think. So in conclusion, I'm stoked to get back onto Road to the Show. I fell in love with ambush hitting. Gonna be frustrated with the extra cheap hits that are going to be in the game, but that comes as a result of fielder ratings actually being meaningful this year, which I've been asking for a long time. Diamond Dynasty appears to be a far better system from what it was in the past couple of years. We didn't get a ton of time to play Diamond Dynasty, but like I said, Weekend Classic, I'm very excited for it. Diamond Quest was a ton of fun. And then you've got your, Team Affinity, that's back. You've got a lot of the stuff that you've come to expect with Diamond Dynasty. I enjoyed my time here. I'm going to quit yapping. You guys have more videos to watch. There's a lot of stuff coming out. We're a couple days away from the official launch, early access launch, and a couple more days from the official launch of MLB The Show 25, and I'm very excited. Leave a like if you guys did enjoy this one, and thank you guys for watching.